So you are the CEO at United Citizens Bank and Trust, that's correct?
Yes,
How long have you worked for United Citizens Bank?
I've been with the bank just over 10 years, more or less right at 10 years, and I was named as the next CEO in March and took over in July.
Okay, so you've been with the bank for 10 years, but your uh, position as CEO is fairly recent. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so what areas of the bank did you work in before being named CEO?
Yeah, I mean, in my career, I've done, you know, teller, head teller, assistant branch manager, uh, branch manager, loan officer. I've done, all that, but, here it's been more or less a loan officer has been, my role here at the bank, as well as, just serving on our various committees that we have, executive committee, things like that.
Okay, so that's interesting. And you were a teller and then head teller for another organization before coming
Yeah,
to. Okay, is that?
yeah.
I'm
I've
sorry. Go
worked
ahead.
for three banks.
Okay. Were they all kind of on the smaller side, the community bank
Yeah,
side of things?
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, do you think that being the ability to kind of come in as a teller and then work your way up to CEO, is that kind of a common thing in, because I know it's definitely not common if you were to work for, one of the too big to fail
Yeah.
banks. That just doesn't happen. But do you think that is a common practice in community banks?
I mean, I know several people that have worked at, you know, community banks that, started as tellers and kind of worked their way through the system. I mean, off the top of my head, I haven't really, I don't know how many conversations I've had with people that were, CEOs and presidents, but I'm sure there are several of them. And in the community banking world, you wind up having those, 30 plus year employees and stuff. And I would venture to say a lot of those people probably got their start on the teller line.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's valuable because they have the people skills and they know the banks inside and out. They know the communities. I think that's underrated and valuable.
Yeah, I mean, you really do learn a lot, on the teller line. Just doing the various transactions and getting exposed to different areas of the bank. And it wasn't, to be completely honest, it wasn't something I wanted to do. I wanted to get in loans from the beginning. It was just hard to do without getting some experience. But, I'm really glad. I'm really glad I did.
Right, yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned a lot.
I can
I definitely
imagine.
think I'm better off from starting where I did versus going straight into loans.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been a part of United Citizens for 10 years, and you guys have locations in, I think I saw five
There's,
cities, five communities listed on your website,
there should be six.
or maybe it was six.
Yeah.
And your main office is in Campbellsburg, Kentucky, is that
Yes.
correct?
Campbellsburg, yes.
Yeah. What part of the state is that in?
I guess you could say kind of north central. So, you know, um, the Kentucky's northern border kind of runs diagonally. You can picture that. So,
Yeah.
obviously, Louisville sits right on the river, and we're about, Campbellsburg's say 35 miles northeast of Louisville.
Okay. Yeah, I think
So
I.
we're not northern Kentucky to get lumped in with like Florence and all that, but uh, we're almost like on a map, we're almost right in the middle of Louisville, Cincinnati, and Lexington, kind of in the middle of that triangle.
Okay. Yeah, so you're kind of a clump of smaller communities between three pretty big metro areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you've been involved in this bank in this community for the past 10 years. So I'm curious what changes you've seen both in the community and in the bank during your tenure,
Well,
or just
you
even in the
know,
banking world in general, the world of community
yeah. I
banking and
mean,
how things are done.
I grew up in, we're in Henry County. Of course, we got locations in Carroll and Odom as well, but Campbellsburg's in Henry County. I mean, this is where I grew up. Um, it doesn't feel like the community's changed, a huge amount as a whole. I mean, there has been. I mean, you see a little bit of new development stuff, but as a whole, it's a pretty rural kind of farming rooted community, and I think that still holds true. You've seen kind of the shift. When I was younger, it was you know tobacco and cattle were the two big things, and the tobacco is almost non-existent now, and you've seen the shift to more people getting into grain farming and stuff like that. Um, but still a lot of farms. We haven't really experienced huge industrial development, or even residential, where farms are being turned into subdivisions or anything like that.
Right.
Here in the last couple of years, we've gotten a little interest from the bourbon industries, and right now we primarily have some storage facilities and stuff. But I think there are some plans in the pipeline for some of those distilleries to eventually have more, visitor center type things going on. So that's something that's somewhat new to us.
Right.
You know, the the banking world, as far as the bank is concerned, I mean, we've seen, pretty significant growth in the 10 years that I've been here. And, we're still, in the grand scheme of things, we're still, quite small community bank, but we've been making pretty good strides, in the last few years as far as loan and asset growth. And, I think last month our past dues were under 0.5%. So it's been, very responsible growth, and we're proud of that. And, the industry is kind of, ever evolving, and you go through those cycles of, new compliance measures are kind of on the top of everybody's radar for a period of time. And, then you kind of get the hang of that. And, now it's hard to mention risk without talking about cybersecurity and that sort of stuff.
For sure.
And then of course you get, and currently the rate environment we're in, and interest rate risk is going to become a hotter topic as rates keep rising, and trying to figure out what the Fed's going to do going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you talked a little bit about the changes in your community and kind of the changes in the rate environment and the regulatory environment as you've um, been in banking. I'm curious what kind of, because I'm sure there have to be quite a few changes you've seen as far as like the technology side of things, the customer service side of things, and kind of expectations that have evolved there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like the world is trying to, create a environment where, more or less you can do everything from home.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you know, and obviously that's a that's a valid that's a valid, I guess, goal from a convenience standpoint. And in the rural communities, um, I can't say that it'll never get there, but we still, you know, I think the bulk of our customer base still likes a little face-to-face time and interaction when they're conducting business. Of course, we've seen you know a uptick in the online banking and mobile deposit and all that sort of stuff. But you know, as far as the whole industry is concerned, I don't think our markets are quite ready for the uh, the ITM teller machines and things like that more or less replace the personal interaction. But that's there's definitely a big push on the technology side from you know it wasn't too long ago our physical work used to be transported to another, from each branch, to where, now you just scan it at the teller station. People can take pictures of their checks at home and deposit them, and
Right.
person to person transfers on online banking. So, things are changing quite a bit. And of course, with, direct deposit and those sort of things, it definitely can, cut down on your branch traffic um, so that's something that has to be kind of, I guess monitored as time goes on, and it makes you rethink what your branch structure will look like, you know, down the road. But right now, like I said, we still feel like our, a good portion of our customer base still appreciates the, face to face interaction, being able to come in and talk to a teller versus using a machine to do their business. So
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you read sort of the leading banking voices and content, and it's, talking about you need to, get with the times and implement this new technology and this new technology and, 3-minute loan application this. But for community banks, there's kind of a balance you have to strike between, I think, that convenience and the sense of being a community bank where you
well,
walk in.
and the thing, the big thing there is, um, we're always going to tell you that we're going to give you better service. And, when you do a 3-minute loan application or whatever, you're, you know, if you can hop online to this company and complete this or that quickly and, without having to talk to anybody or whatever, that's a convenience factor, but you're not getting any service out of that. So when, those situations when everything runs smoothly, it's great. But if you have an issue, then you gotta, that's when you're either talking to a recorded message or getting transferred 4 or 5 times and sitting on hold and that sort of thing. So, I can't argue the fact that some of the technology doesn't add some convenience, but I don't believe it's ever going to match the level of service that a community bank and our staff could give to someone. And that's where the consumer has to make the distinction. What are they looking for? Are they looking strictly for convenience, or are they looking for good customer service as well?
Right. Yeah, technology's great when it works, right?
Yeah.
So you guys just celebrated your 150-year anniversary, which is incredible, even from a community bank standpoint, and especially, now thinking about all of the things that, you guys survived. I mean, 150 years ago would have been 1870 something. Would that be?
72. Yep.
1872. So, I mean, you guys survived, the Great Depression and uh, the pandemic and everything
Yeah, I
in
mean, it's,
between.
you think it's basically the country's recovering from the Civil War, two world wars, pandemic, Great Depression, the Great Recession, I guess they call it, and then
Mm.
all the, you know, I mean, when we were doing research on this 150th, they'd found records of checks written on corn husks and stuff, and
Are you kidding?
the, yeah, now they're, when you think about the compliance world now,
Yeah, that would not
and just
fly.
the nature of, um, the banking industry as a whole. I mean, I can't remember the numbers, but it's like, I mean, the amount of, bank charters in the last, 10, 15 years has decreased substantially. It's just a, continual chain of mergers and acquisitions
Right, right.
um, from that standpoint, it's definitely, amazing from a longevity standpoint, but, I think it's also, one thing we're very proud of is the fact that, we are, uh, located and originated in small rural communities. And it was, even back in 1870 when they were beginning to work on, putting the bank together and get the charter, it was, I mean, the focus was 100% on, providing the services that the communities needed. And, we feel like 150 years later that, that's still, kind of our backbone. And, so to be able to, fend off any, mergers or, joining up with larger institutions and that sort of thing, or just getting acquired, we, uh, the board, the leadership of the bank, throughout its history has, made that a commitment that, we have no interest in being, that type of institution. We want to, provide the services our communities need and do it, at a fair return for us and a fair rate for the community.
Yeah. So, do you think that kind of customer community focus is what's kind of that thing that you've done differently that's helped you outlast your competitors and avoid, the merger and acquisition? That's kind of the big bad feared thing for a lot of community banks right now.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, I definitely think that mindset has helped us as far as being a successful, member in this community and in the banking industry, and allowed us to, uh, you know, stay relevant and, even grow. But I have to give credit to, the leadership of the bank, the board of directors and that, for realistically over the last 150 years, because I know they've, clearly made it, part of their, mission and vision statements that, that's not what we're here for. This wasn't, a let's grow it and sell it and profit type situation. And, it was, it was developed to be a community bank to, help and serve our communities. And, the various board members, throughout the history of the bank have stuck to that. And, so it's, I have to give credit to them for that, for creating that mindset and upholding it. Uh, or otherwise, I would say there would be a very good chance that at some point there would have been an acquisition or a merger somewhere.
Right. how have you seen that both as CEO, as when you were a loan officer, as even just a member of the community? How have you seen that customer community focused mindset um, kind of translate into the concrete, the day to day of the bank, the operations, the things that you guys do maybe differently than some institutions that maybe haven't lasted as long?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what, you know, I think, I think the main thing, again, for these communities, I mean, our customers, you know, I mean, it's a common saying. I mean, at the bigger institutions, I mean, you are more or less a number, and that's not, really a dig at them. But if you've got 100,000 customers, it's pretty hard to be able to call them all by name.
Right.
But we just had a situation, yesterday where someone was dealing with a larger institution and had a fairly, it's not a 100% common situation, but a fairly simple one to resolve. But at the larger institution, they couldn't. They basically couldn't find anybody to talk with them about, how are we going to resolve this? So, we get the call and it's like, I'm ready to move everything if you guys can help me with this. And, being locally owned and, and, all of our management is local, it's pretty simple to, I mean, that was maybe a two phone call situation. It's like, here's what we can do and this will get you where you need to be. And, that's just the kind of service that you're flat out not going to get at the larger institution.
Yeah, definitely. And I think everybody's probably had that been on hold for too long, nobody can help me moment um, to relate to. But unfortunately, not everybody gets the resolve of calling the community bank, and it's like, oh, finally, someone will help me.
Yeah.
So, how long have you guys been a customer at ICBB?
I don't know. I mean, I know it's been as long as I've been here, but I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay.
I could probably get, that from Brenda if you want me to send it to you later.
Um, sure. I actually talked to quite a few of our customers who our relationship with their institution predates their time there, and they're not
Yeah.
exactly sure, when that relationship began. So, what kind of unique value have you seen come out of having that correspondent relationship with us?
Well, I mean, for us, uh, it's obviously uh, we use the bank for our wire transfers and that sort of stuff, and the handling of our Fed funds and stuff. So, that's all, been very convenient, for us. And, we also, being, and I just talked to another one yesterday, I think in Manchester, but slightly larger than us, but still under 200 million. And in their market, they have a ton of liquidity, but, it's tough for them in the rural area to get enough loan demand. Uh, so, the participation loan side of things is very valuable to community banks because, again, we may have the money to put into loans, but we're struggling to find the loan demand. So, being involved with ICBB gives us the opportunity to, participate into some, really, really good deals and not have to, and typically make a better return than we would if we were to say put that into an investment or something. So that's a pretty valuable part of our relationship as well.
Right. We get a lot of good feedback about our participation loan program and quite a bit of questions and demand for that. So I see how that's really valuable
And
to you guys
yeah,
as
and we've
community
used
banks.
some on the, both the purchasing side, but also, loans that we originated. And it's, more or less, it's a tool that allows you to keep, allows the bank to keep the customer relationship and keep the loan in house, but sell a portion to stay within the legal lending limit, and also kind of not necessarily send it to your competitors.
Right. For sure. For sure. Sure. And what you said about, being a community bank and being that person that's going to help your customer and give them that personal service. That's kind of what we want to be for you guys, for our community banks.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that's really all the questions that I had for you, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I'm just curious, is there anything that you'd like to add that I haven't touched on? Maybe um, about the bank, about your community, about this incredible 150-year accomplishment, or your relationship with ICBB, any of it. Anything you'd like to
Yeah.
add there?
Well, as far as 150 years goes, I mean, it's something that we're, obviously really proud of, and we were able to have, a nice celebration this month for that. And for me, it's being a lifelong, member of this community and an employee of the bank now. It's a proud moment for me on both levels because the world can be tough on a small community bank, and it can also be tough on rural communities. So when you look, to me, the success that we've had is a direct reflection of the strength of our communities, and uh, in a lot of ways, it's tough for one to exist without the other. So I think you know the 150 years and making and being able to achieve that is it's a reflection on the strength of our communities and the employees that we've had, management we've had in the past, and so it's that was something that I think was definitely pretty special to us because it means that not only are we doing the right thing, but we've helped our communities be in a position to do the right thing, and we were both able to make it through the last 150 years together, and we're looking forward to continue that.
Awesome. That's really well said. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and congratulations again just on your 150-year anniversaries. I can't stress enough how incredible that is.
Yeah, thank you.